What's up, everybody? I'm Apollo. This is Late Great Game Reviews, and this week I'm reviewing Contrast for the PS4. It's not that old, but it's PS4 and next gen is here, and it's exciting, and it's at this point a couple weeks old, so I figured I'd just review it. Yeah, it's by developer Compulsion, and it's an interesting concept. It follows this little girl Dee Dee and her imaginary friend. We'll call her an imaginary friend named Dawn, and Dawn is she can basically use shat. The whole game is basically geared around the mechanic of that Dawn can sort of what they call shift in and out of shadows. So she can become a shadow, and you use the light that shines on walls and surfaces, and you use Dawn as a shadow to traverse using other shadows. So you'll climb along, the shadows of a pole or a set of stairs or something, and it's pretty cool. The use of shadows is pretty clever, and it gets even more clever when they start using things like cogs and like moving parts, and you have to use the shadows of those things to move around. And you can also, when you get further into the game, you're also able to bring things like boxes and, well, pretty much just boxes, like in and out of the shadow world, shadow dimension, whatever you want to call it. And it's pretty cool in order to unlock things, because it's a platformer puzzle. It's really a puzzle game, and there's a lot of puzzles, and the puzzles do get very challenging, and they get tricky, and they're pretty clever. Although the puzzles are all of those things, sometimes actually finishing, like solving the puzzles, or not so much solving them, but just finishing the puzzle and progressing to the next section of the game gets honestly maddening, because some of the game because some of the I don't know, it's because some of the, like, the level design, and sometimes a few of the game mechanics get in the way of progressing. It's kind of annoying. Like, you'll jump into a shadow and you'll do something called a shadow dash, which is when you're as Dawn and you're a shadow. And did I mention that you play as Dawn and not Dee Dee? I think I did. But yeah, so you're just helping Dee Dee the whole time. Anyway, there's this thing called the Shadow Dash. Where you're as Dawn. You've shifted into a shadow, and you can dash through like narrow shadows, like shadows of poles and stuff like that. Sometimes that gets, that's what I mean in terms of, like, sometimes the game mechanics can sometimes like make a pretty simple, well, it can make a challenging puzzle that much more just insanely irritating to get through, just because you'll shadow dash, you'll hit like a small edge of a shadow, and you'll be phased out, and or shifted out, and back into your normal body, and you'll have to do it all over again. And I got stuck in many positions like that, where I had solved the puzzle, I knew what to do, was traversing, and I kept like hitting that same spot, because if you hit a complete shadow and there's no light reflecting on a space, and you're a shadow, then you'll shift back out, and you'll have to do it again. And I hit a lot of pockets like that. And I came across a bunch of glitches too, whether it was a glitch where you get too close to a wall, and you just, like, the character, just starts jumping randomly. Or there's one where you pick up a box, and this one happened a lot to me, where you pick up a box, and when you drop it, the box slowly, very, very slowly floats to the ground, and you are paralyzed until it hits the ground. That happened constantly. There's a bunch of glitches, and one of the biggest ones is it came near the very end of the game, the last act. There are 3 acts in the game, with subsections in each act, and in the last act of the game, I hit a glitch where one of the lights you use sometimes, like telescopic looking mechanisms that shoot out light to like hit bulbs, and they light up, and like it basically activates another one, or it gets you to the next part of the puzzle. and I hit one of those. I was at one of those telescopic mechanisms, and I fought. The beam that ignites the bulb that will have let me progress through the puzzle wouldn't ignite. It ignited once, but then it wouldn't ignite again, and I died, and I had to keep restarting my save again and again and again, and going through the same puzzle again and again, and it was so frustrating. I mean, I damn near didn't finish the game, just like it took me hours because that one glitch was just like so fucking, or excuse my language, but it was really very annoying. And yeah, so there's some glitches in the game. But you know, it's an interesting game. Like I said, it kind of revolves around you playing as Dawn, helping Dee Dee, try to get her parents back together. Her mom is like a rising starlet, and it's set in the 1920s. Didn't mention that, but it is. I think maybe in France. It doesn't really say, but I think it's set in 1920s France. And you live with your mom. Your dad comes. You live with Dee Dee's mom, and her dad comes back, and he's trying to, he's clearly kind of a swindler. I think that's the right word. And he, has been known for his schemes in the past and not doing things. He's a good father, but he's not exactly the best businessman or entrepreneur. And basically, he gets involved with the wrong people, some bookies who mess him up pretty bad, and you're basically trying to help him and have you and your parents not be killed, essentially. It actually gets pretty dark once the father is initially brought back in, not because of him, but because of the bookies. And yeah, so the story itself is pretty interesting. It's simple, but it's effective. And yeah, sorry, look down at my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. Dialogue between the parents, and the dialogue all around between whether it's Dee Dee, the parents. Dawn doesn't talk, but yeah, the dialogue is solid. It's good dialogue, actually, really good dialogue between the parents. I like it actually a lot, and the voice acting is solid all the way through, and the environments and settings look good. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look terrific, but it's an indie game, and it serves its purpose for looking like a sort of dark, kind of, I don't know, just isolated town in 1920s France. I think France. So yeah, that's Contrast. Again, it's an enjoyable game until you hit those really irritating glitches, and hopefully you don't hit the really big one that I hit, or even some of the smaller ones. But if you do, yeah, I mean, if you really I reviewed it, so I was really persistent on just trying to finish the game. But if you're like me and you really need to finish the game, then just restart your save if you hit some of those glitches, and just kind of do that and just hope for the best, essentially. Those glitches and the sort of, sometimes just like some of the puzzles where you have to, there's one puzzle in particular near the end where you have to solve it, and you have to use it, it's really hard to explain, but you have to, the puzzle's really simple, but it's made incredibly complicated because the way you solve it is it's nothing clever. It's simply you using sort of this one pocket of shoddy level design to get like a box over a gap. It's really stupid, and yeah. So, the game overall is fairly enjoyable. I like the characters, and like I said, the environments, voice acting, dialogue's all solid. Great concept too, using the shadows to traverse. I really like that. But, the game as a whole, I mean, the glitches and some of the game mechanics really kind of, it's distracting enough for me to get really frustrated with the game, and it's distracting enough to drastically lower my review score of what it initially was going to be. So I'm going to give Contrast for the PS4 a 6.9. It's almost a 7, but not quite. Yeah, and you can check it out if you want. I mean, the great thing is that I didn't have to pay for it because I'm a PS Plus member, and for all PS Plus members, it is free, as is Resogun, which I will be reviewing soon. Resogun's awesome. And yeah, just check it out. It's Contrast is a game worth checking out, definitely. Yeah. So it's free, and that's Contrast. I'm Apollo. This has been Late Great Game Reviews. I will catch you, ladies and gentlemen, next week.